Now, how is the output seen for this particular program? Now, the first time you have the function constructor invoked. So, this constructor is invoked for this test OB1. So, when this test OB1 object is created, it prints this particular data constructor invoked. The next statement is main begins, after that again constructor invoked. So, what happens when main begins? How is this main beginning coming as the next output? After this first particular object is created, the compiler enters the main function and it displays this main begins. Then it immediately moves to the next statement, which is nothing but creation of the second object. So, when the second object is created, again the constructor is invoked. That is what is displayed as the next output, constructor invoked. After this constructor invoked, again it will move to the inner part of the program, inner section starts. Again another test OB3, that is a creation of another object. So, whenever an object is created, the constructor will automatically be invoked. So, again a constructor invoked statement followed by the inner section ends. So, inner section starts, again a constructor invoked and again the inner section ends. So, if you see that third constructor invoked is for this OB3. The scope of this OB3 ends with this particular brace. So, as soon as this particular brace is encountered by the compiler, it will call the destructor. So, after this inner section ends, immediately it will display destructor invoked because that object OB3 ceases to exist over there. So, we will see how that takes place. After inner section ends, destructor invoked. This is for test OB3. Then you will have the function main ends because that is the next statement seen by the compiler. So, this test OB2 scope closes with the main function. So, when it sees that the main function gets over, immediately the next destructor invoked will be displayed. Destructor invoked will be displayed again. And finally, when the program ends, the destructor invoked for the first object OB1. So, here if you see, whenever the object is created, the constructor statement is invoked and then the program proceeds as usual through the normal function. And whenever the brace is the most important part of this entire program. Based on the closing brace and the opening brace only, the life cycle of an object is determined. If an object is having a global scope, it is available during the entire program. If it is inside the main function, when the main function ends, the object ceases to exist. If it is inside a block of statements like a if loop or a for loop or a while loop, once the loop gets over, its life ceases to exist. So, according to that only these constructor invoked, main begins and inner section starts and all these statements have been displayed. So, this is how the life cycle of an object is determined by the compiler. So, that is the reason when we indicate the body of the looping statements, body of the main function, body of the class, it is highly essential that we are extremely careful because when we use the constructor and destructor function, they allocate and deallocate memory accordingly. If we misuse the brace, memory will be deallocated when we actually require the memory. So, we have to be careful that we denote the life cycle of an object properly to the compiler.